Production Cars. Well, for the nature of this list, these are not cars that are produced to be rare by nature of their price or their exclusivity. And I'm not talking about the 84 Ford Tempo and there's only 8 left. Because honestly, nobody cares. Nobody keeps track of how many 84 Tempos are left, and it's not a car you'd want to buy even if you knew they were rare. All the cars on this list the manufacturer expected to sell well. But due to the market conditions or the company conditions or things that were kind of out of their control or just plain stupid designs, they didn't. And every one of the cars on this list are cars that theoretically, if you wanted one, you could probably afford to buy it. So let's get started. And of course, I have to throw in a bonus at the end, so be sure you stick around. The first car on this list, coming in at 2,172 units, is for the guy who always wanted to be a part of the Subaru WRX clan, but just wasn't into vaping. That's right, there's a car out there for you too. The Saab 92X Aero was built in 2005 and 2006. Essentially, it's a Subaru WRX wagon with a Saab nose and a little bit of extra sound deadening inside. That's pretty much it. This was built in the final days for Saab. Unfortunately, Saab was one of those car companies that became a victim of the financial crash and poor management. It was sold at just the wrong time for another company to save some money, and well, Saab was the unhappy victim. But the Saab 92X Aero is everything that you love about the WRX with a little bit of extra luxury thrown in. You're definitely not going to see another one of these at your next car meetup, which is going to make you the coolest WRX wagon owner, if there is such a thing. Number 2 on this list, coming in at 1,321 units, is the Chrysler Crossfire SRT Roadster. That's a mouthful. With the 3.2 liter supercharged V6 developing 330 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time in 4.8 seconds, you might be wondering why this car wasn't a big hit. The answer to that is probably the car's Art Deco styling. I mean, memers had a field day with this, but pretty much this was the meme. And this one. Yeah, and this one. It's definitely a love it or hate it kind of thing. The other thing that I think hurt the SRT Roadster was the fact that it didn't have a manual transmission. But this is really nothing new. The powertrain was designed by AMG, who have never put a manual in any of their AMG cars. It's really sad. The car was built in 2006, and you could get it as a special order in 2007, but that's it. This car is an extremely rare find. The third car on this list is probably my favorite. I really wanted one when this car was released, and the writing was already on the wall that it was going to be extremely rare. From 2009 to 2010, only 848 of these cars were built. Only 287 of them had a manual transmission when they were released from the factory. I'm talking about the Pontiac Solstice GP Coupe. The car was released at a time when they already knew the writing was on the wall for Pontiac. They had already made the announcement that the Pontiac division was going to be shelved, and I knew this car was scheduled to be built. It was just a matter of how many they could build before they closed the entire factory. The car came with an inline 4-cylinder engine and a dual-scroll turbocharger, which developed 260 horsepower. They generally got 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds, and man, it just looked so cool. Number 4 on this list checks in at 97 total units sold in the US between 2001 and 2004, making it extremely rare. The Passat W8 wagon in a manual transmission is a rare bird indeed. And part of the reason why is because this car was released at a time when wagon sales and manual transmission sales were way down in the United States. And what made this car truly unique was its extremely unusual powertrain. This car has essentially 2 narrow-angle 4-cylinder engines connected side by side with a single crankshaft. And the Passat W8 was the only car that this engine ever actually appeared in, making the engine extremely rare as well. At 275 horsepower, this engine was not a world beater, but it was said to be extremely smooth. So if you're into wagons and the Cadillac CTS-V isn't exclusive enough for you, the Passat W8 wagon with a manual transmission is probably the way to go. The most rare car on this list checks in at just 30 to 44 units depending upon who you talk to in 2007. And if you want to be king of the carpool lane or soccer mom of the year, this is your ride. The Mercedes R63 AMG is the minivan to end all minivans. The 6.2 liter V8 power plant was good for 507 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. And a top speed of 155 miles an hour. Who doesn't want a minivan that can take an older Corvette off the line? Apparently not that many, sadly, so this car is really difficult to find. As is customary, I like to go the extra mile with this bonus in here, and this is for all the folks that are into the drifting scene. Before there even was a drifting scene, Ford built a car that was meant to compete with the BMW 3 Series of its day. That BMW is meant to compete with is often used as a drift car these days, but the Merkur XR4 Ti is almost always completely overlooked. Now, there were 42,464 units built from 85 to 89, mostly with a manual transmission. And compared to other cars on this list, that's a lot of units, but as fate would have it, these days there's not many of these cars still around. The manual transmission car had a 175 horsepower turbocharged 4-banger in it, and it didn't have an intercooler, so you can add one of those and really bump up that boost. We also know in Europe this car was available with a Cosworth V6 in it. So as a drifter, you know that you can pretty much sandwich just about anything that you want in there, and you're gonna anyways. So if you're looking to get into the drifting scene and you want to find a car that's cool and pretty rare, the Merkur XR4 Ti might be just the ride for you. If you think I left an important car off this list, let me know in the comments. Hi, my name is Michael Fire Jr. from... Oh man, R63 is sold? Well, thanks a lot. For the love of cars. That's the name of the channel. Subscribe if you enjoy this sort of content. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.